Awesome. Well, hello everybody. Thank you for coming back to our show, The World of Positivists, also the Positive Vibes magazine. Today we have a super special guest. You may have known them as Laganja Estranja on RuPaul if you're a fan, and if not, you're going to learn tons about them today. So, Laganja, why don't you just tell us, about who you are?
Well, hello, and thank you so much for having me today. I am most known for my appearance on RuPaul's Drag Race Season 6, although I think a lot of newbies are learning me from All Stars Season 6, which I just was a lip sync assassin on and had an incredible time going back to the show almost 10 years later. I'm also a cannabis activist, choreographer, musician, and just overall queen.
Wow, I love it. So then, my next question is, what really inspired you to start going into drag?
I've always been in touch with my feminine side, but growing up in Dallas, Texas, it was very hard to accept this. So it wasn't until I moved to California and went to the California Institute of the Arts where I really felt safe to explore my gender. So at my school, Cal Arts, we had an incredible performance at the end of my senior year called Cal Arts is Burning, based off Paris is Burning, the iconic and legendary documentary. And so it was there that I really premiered Laganja for the first official time.
And wonderful. And how did it feel? How did it feel to, express that side of yourself you probably hadn't experienced before in that safe space that you felt?
Well, it was a lot of fun. I mean, it was really great freedom in being myself around peers that I know supported me. I was also dancing alongside two of my fellow dancers who were also in the Cal Arts department with me. My dear friend at the time, Hector Machado, was managing me. So it was really a collaborative art performance, and it was the finale of the night. So needless to say, it was quite a hit. Lots of people had a really good time, not only myself. And yeah, it definitely set me up for the path on doing this professionally for a long time.
Wow, sounds great. And so I'm curious, in your perspective, what does drag mean to you? What is the art form of drag to you?
Well, drag to me is my job. Trans is who I am. Monica Beverly Hills definitely said this best. And for me, drag is a way to express a hypersexualized version of a female. Drag stands for dressing as a girl. So for me, it was always about female impersonation. I never really wanted to look like a clown or to look over exaggerated. I always wanted to go for the realness. But, drag is different for everybody. And I love now that it truly is an art form for anyone. It's not just for men dressing as girls. It is for, cis females. It is for non-binary individuals. It is for trans individuals. And I think it's great that the definition of drag, much like the art form, is changing.
Okay, great. And I'm curious, what is it about drag that's changing right now than probably when you first started then?
Well, like I said, when I first started, I really felt like it was a men's sport. It was a gay men's sport, truly. But I think now there's so much more diversity, and that's what really makes the art form that much more exciting and accessible.
Wow, awesome. And so I'm curious, so when you first, showcased Laganja to who you are now, what has been your most pivotal or most transformational moment?
Well, that's really, I guess, a hard one to pick because I do feel I have been Laganja from beginning till now. Maybe there are certain aspects of her that have changed, but I've always stuck true to who I am. So, the most pivotal moment I would guess would be being on Drag Race, right? That's what really got my name and character out there and really showcased my talents to the world.
Beautiful. And then I'm just curious for anyone, who may be listening who is struggling with their gender or struggling just to be who they are despite whatever it is their identity is. What's your advice? And what would be your advice for someone who's really struggling with their identity?
Well, I definitely think gender is a construct and it's something we need to tear apart, which is why I came out June 15th of 2021 about being trans, because I was tired of going on stages night after night and telling people to be themselves and then going home and not listening to my own advice. So the hardest thing I think about accepting who you are is just that, literally having to accept who you are. For so long I thought that I was trans because where I grew up in Texas, people like me were killed. And so, I don't think there's really any certain journey to accepting your truth. I think everybody's different. Some people do yoga. Some people, like myself, smoke cannabis. There's different, many different ways and forms to figure out your truth. But I think the ultimate thing is sitting with yourself and really accepting your truth and knowing that, you know, even though it may not be something you want or something that's comfortable, it is your truth and you've got to do something about it.
Wonderful. And then I think that's a good segue to, you know, you said you came out as trans on June 15th. What really sparked your coming out story in that regard? Was there like a specific moment or person that really inspired you to finally come out?
It was definitely Corona, you know, being in the pandemic and having to sit with myself, growing out my real hair, having it touch the back of my neck. You know, there was an undeniable femininity that was coming across that I really hadn't had time to allow myself to experience. And it was in that moment that I told some of my best friends. And after several months of sort of living in the closet, but sort of telling my best friends, the ones that I was stuck in the pandemic with, I realized that I needed to take bigger steps and, you know, include my family members and include the public.
Great. And then so what has been like the reaction to you coming out? Has there been overwhelming support? Have you experienced people who are against it? Have you lost people? Have you gained new friendships from it?
You know, I'm very privileged in my life. I'm a white girl who makes rap music and has now come out as trans, and I've been received with nothing but love. So, you know, I have to give a huge shout out to my trans siblings who came before me, specifically those of color, who carved out this pathway so that I could run. You know, they walked so that I could truly fly. And I do feel like I am flying. I have been so supported. In fact, in 48 hours, we raised over $25,000 for my journey, for my transition surgeries. And that was just so incredible. I never believed in a million years that people would come together for little old me, the Queen of Green. So I feel very supported, very lucky. And because of this privilege, you know, I am trying to use my platform to give back and to be a trans activist. Once we reached our $25,000 goal, we raised an additional $5,000. So that's going to be donated to the Trans Wellness Center here in Los Angeles. And now we're trying to raise an additional $5,000 so that we can give it to a specific individual. And if we do end up reaching that goal, well, then we're going to try to raise another $5,000 for another specific individual who is struggling financially with their transition. So I'm definitely also looking at opening up my own organization that can continue to support trans women specifically throughout the year. That's not to say I don't believe trans men or non-binary individuals don't need the support or deserve the support. But as a trans woman, I feel very privileged and honored, and like I want to give back to those women that I work with on the daily in the drag scene who, again, like I said earlier, really carved out space so that I could be here.
Yeah, that sounds really great. So I'm excited for that to come out. And then my next question is, now that you kind of have like opened up that conversation with other people that you are trans, has it been hard though on yourself that you put yourself out there like that? I know you said you've gotten the support, but has it been kind of hard, you know, like people know the truth and you're at this vulnerable stage now. So I'm curious if it's been kind of hard though.
Well, I definitely wear my heart on my sleeve. Vulnerability, I think, is one of my strengths. I've never been afraid to cry or to show people how I truly feel. And I definitely thank my parents for that. They were high school counselors for 30 plus years. So needless to say, they instilled this within me. And yeah, there have been challenging moments, specifically when I'm in public and not being recognized for the female that I am. But overall, I have a lot of self-confidence and I just feel free. I feel great. I feel happy. I feel like up until this point in my life, I've been living a lie, and that made me very sad. So to be able to live my truth, tell my truth, celebrate my truth, it feels like I'm alive for the first time in a very long time.
Wow, so empowering. And so I'm curious about also, you know, I know you mentioned cannabis a lot, and so I'm curious just, you know, what got you into that and why you are like a cannabis activist.
Sure. Well, I injured my back in a dance piece back in 2010. I was a junior in my college and I was dropped during a dance piece. So my back was out of alignment. And I went to see a chiropractor who suggested that I actually get my medical license, which then was Proposition 215, and to use cannabis to medicate for my pain. Now, I had dabbled in some cannabis previously to this moment, mostly for creative causes or for recreational causes, but I never really viewed the plant as the medicine that it truly is. So it was because of this chiropractor that I really discovered its medicinal properties and began becoming an activist, because I was lied to. I was told this was a bad thing and that it would turn me into someone lazy who'd sink into the couch and forget to pick up my sister after school. And for me, it's completely opposite. It's been a huge motivator in my life. And so that's why I chose the name Laganja Estranja, because I believe any beauty queen or, queen in general should have a platform bigger than themselves that they're standing upon and that they're celebrating alongside their success.
I love it. I love how you just do so much. You're an activist in so many different areas, and you bring that into like your drag and your performance, and I really love that. And so I'm also curious about your dancing. When did you start dancing, and like what's your favorite genre of dancing? What do you love most about it?
Well, I've been dancing since I was knee-high to a pig's eye. I love all forms of dance. I was originally trained in musical theater, so you sort of had to be able to do everything. Definitely ballet, tap, jazz, all of those were in my classical training, but it wasn't until later that I discovered contemporary dance. And that truly is my favorite form of dance. It's definitely something I hope to continue to explore throughout my lifetime. I was very lucky enough to be on both season 15 and 16 of So You Think You Can Dance, where I showed off my contemporary skills. But what I really hope is to one day not only be a choreographer on that show and on RuPaul's Drag Race, but to also showcase my dancing on shows like Dancing with the Stars and eventually open up my own dance company.
Oh, very exciting. So then I'm curious, talk about, you just say your dance company and also this organization you might start. Are there any other things that you are working on that, our audience will be excited to see?
Well, if you can't tell, I'm always playing Twister with myself. I've got one hand over here, one leg over here. So yes, there's a lot more exciting projects coming. I've been working very diligently on my merch lines, or as I like to say, my fashion lines, because I don't even think they look like merch. They're living art that you can wear. I'm also working on new music. I have a new single coming out called Daily Basis, which will be the title of my EP, which will feature a collections of songs that mostly have already been put out. And then I'll begin work on my next EP, Iconic. I've also got a movie coming out with Alaska called God Save the Queens, which should be dropping sometime in January, February. We're hoping to make it to the Sundance Film Festival. And you name it, trust me, I'm working on it. We got the Cannabis line in the works, lots of collabs with different cannabis companies. I'm definitely the Energizer Bunny of drag. So I just keep going, mama.
I love it. Oh my goodness. And so I also wanted to ask you a question, if you're comfortable. Our magazine was founded on, mental health, and that was our main inspiration. We've gone in a lot of different things like spirituality and disability and a lot of different things, but I am just curious on what your views are on mental health and what you think we could be doing to bring more awareness to that topic.
Well, as I mentioned earlier, both my parents were high school counselors for over 30 plus years. So mental health, again, was integrated into my learning as I was growing up. It was something I was very aware of. I had a psychologist at 14. I never grew up thinking talking about mental health, doing something about mental health was a negative thing. For people out there who are currently struggling with it, I just want to say, you're not alone. Everyone struggles with mental health, whether they recognize it or not. Some of us just choose to actually do something about it. So whether that's, something like medicinal, like cannabis, or spiritual, like yoga, or seeing a psychiatrist, or meditating, there's really no wrong way to take care of yourself as long as you're doing just that, taking care of yourself.
I love it. No, I totally agree. And so if I can ask, what do you do that helps your mental health?
Well, I do all three of those. I see a therapist, I go to yoga and practice meditation, and I use cannabis on the daily. So I definitely use all three methods. But, again, there's religion. I mean, there's just so many things that people can turn to find their best self.
Wonderful. Right now, those are all the questions I have. Do you have any parting thoughts for our audience, or anything that you didn't get to address or bring up?
I just want to say, you know what? You all are beautiful, and don't let anybody tell you differently. My sister Mayhem Miller says that at the end of every one of her shows, and I truly believe that with all of my heart. To be a sickening bitch, you just gotta believe.
Awesome. Yay. Well, thank you, Laganja. It's so great to talk with you, and thank you so much for everything.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me, and everybody out there, stay positive. Lots of love.